Welcome everybody back to Veil of Sound. It's our regular interview Sunday over here. And I'm very, very happy to have somebody on the show whose band's music is not really your regular thing. I have Ron here from Rorcal. So first of all, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you. Thanks to you for inviting me.
Always a pleasure. It's already the second interview this year. This is a video interview. If anybody wants to find out which other interview we did, you should check out our archives on veilofsound.com because we did a huge special on a record that you re-released this year, HLGBLS. So how do you now feel after that whole thing has been out again for a few months already? Do you still think that the new edition does the record justice?
Yeah, like I was saying before, releasing the HLGBLS in a vinyl edition is something we really wanted to do for a long time, for more than 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And but as it was a very long record, plus there was this prelude, we kind of waited quietly that this occasion would happen, and it did last year with Wolf and Vibrancy record that really came and say, hey, do you want to do that? And we say, yeah, totally. But are you ready? Are you really ready? Because it's going to be, at least 3 vinyls edition. It's going to be expensive. This is a super experimental piece. It's not a new one. So there is all those kind of things to take in consideration, and he said, go for it. I want to do it. I think that there are people in the other side that wants this to happen too, not just the label and the band. So let's do it. And what was very cool that firstly we could include the prelude, so it's the really whole piece together. It's something like 90 minutes, I think, the total. And we could reproduce the graphism of the CD version, which is also something a little bit special. It's full black. Everything is also written in black on black paper, so it's like this really black monolithic thing, and this is something that we really wanted to make, but it's not the most common and easily sellable type of graphics, but he was all right with it. And he let us this freedom to do it, so everything went perfectly smoothly.
Would you agree that HLGBLS is still, to some extent, Rorcal's most extreme record?
This is one song of 70 minutes, and this we never did that again. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think we could be able to do that again, for different artistic and personal reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, this is something super extreme. After that, in another way, I think in the sound itself, I mean, we did something pretty extreme with the record after Muladona and before this one, the record we did with the Earthflesh.
Which Coven?
Which Coven, exactly. Where in the soundscape, we push the thing, in my opinion, even farther than HLGBLS. But I get how extreme it can remain in our discography, the HLGBLS. I get that totally, and yeah, I can understand partially.
Yeah.
I could agree partially, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when I then listen to the new record, Silence, we'll get to the title and what kind of meaning it has to you as a band a little later. But when I listen to Silence, I'm first of all, in a way, thankful that it's 8 separate tracks, which, although there is kind of a red thread going through it, but it is still in itself, it's 8 different tracks. So that makes it a little more accessible. But on the other hand, I think sound-wise, also again compared to Witchcoven, it is actually, in a very, very strange kind of way, it is a little more accessible. It is as if there is a tiny bit of gray in all the black, at least sound-wise. Is that just my notion, or is that something that you really set out to do?
We didn't set out to do a more accessible record, but you're not the only one that told us that. Actually, the first one that said, hey, it's a little bit more accessible, it's our studio sound engineer. When
Raphael.
He listened to not Raphael, Stefan, the one he records. When he listened to the pre-production, he said, hey, it's a little bit more accessible. And after that, for the review that we had for now, something that came out regularly is, if you want to start with Rorcal, this is the best album to start with, because it somehow it grabs you more gently in their universe than some other one, maybe more conceptual or more extreme in a soundscape thing. So yeah, you're not the only one to think that.
But do you also hear that, or is that something that doesn't come to your ears?
Yeah, it's less conceptual than Muladona,
of course.
And the fact that it's 8 middle short song creates something that you can see the beginning of the end of several things, one on the side of the other. And musically speaking, it's less extreme than Witchcoven, and maybe if you combine everything, yes, I can understand how people think it's a little bit more listener friendly than the rest of.
You have said that and that is something that is very clear when listening to any kind of vocal record, you are not making music to cater a certain audience. You are doing this for you as a band, for you as several individuals. So how must we envision the writing process for Rorcal? Is it you jam along, or do certain people bring something to the table? How does it go?
It evolves with the years. For some logistical reason, I would say, we have less time than 10 or 15 years ago, because 15 years ago we were teenagers and we have all the time in the world to go and jam and writing HLGBLS, for example. So now, if you want, the process was it was actually a hard one, and it changed in the middle of the process. We quickly realized that try to gather once every week and create something for 2-3 hours would not work. we needed more than that. So what we did is that we take holidays, and we went to a very nice house in the middle of nowhere. Put all our instruments there, and for 4 or 5 days we played and played and played and record everything, and we really create the core of the album there. After that, for the rest, yes, the guitarists sometimes come with some riffs, some ideas. We work around that, but I think one very important part of the process is that we record everything, and we work separately on the what we recorded with our GarageBand or Logic stuff, and try to assemble the puzzle. And at some point in the process, for an example, we realized that for the balance of the whole album, it missed one song. We wanted to do a 7 song album, and we felt like something was missing somewhere, and so we decided to write at the really final stage of the process a new whole song to have a better balance in general. This song is Under the Nails, is not the last one, no, but the one just before, which is a very quick, really small and super speedy, aggressive song, because really we felt like the song before has a very doomy part at the end, and this is this big industrial piece at the end, and between the two it missed something like Little Spank.
Yeah, I get that.
So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Totally. What is also very interesting is the cover of the record, because it seems as if there are 2 versions. There seems to be this original photo and this this painted version of it, or this, however you want to call it, this visual artist thing that turned into it. Which one are we gonna see on the record itself, or are we gonna see both? The photo or the painting?
Are you talking about the painting? That's what you want to see it. Wait.
Of course.
So this is the vinyl.
When one looks at the photo, one also sees some very, very, very dark figures next to that female person.
Yeah,
and here we come, and I already thought so. But my question is, like, the record is called Silence. These figures standing next to that person, are they representing silence?
Well, actually, this painting, it's from the 18th century, and the name of this painting is Silence. It's from a Swiss painter named Fuseli. And yeah, I suppose the woman on the painting represents somehow sort of silence. And as we reproduce this painting in a picture, I think the woman in the picture could represent the silence as well.
So you have said that you answered that very nicely, but the question then is, when I look at the record, when I look at the song titles, when I try to get to the core of the record, is there a red thread going through the tracks? And if so, what is the concept?
Well, the idea of the silence that we wanted to explore is that it's an album about hope and the absence of hope. I don't know if you read few lines that we wrote about that.
I have read that, yes, but maybe you can dive a little into it.
The idea was really is talking about this possible absence of hope that humankind might have, this, and that the idea of finally, if there is no more hope anywhere, there is nothing more to do and nothing more to say, and the only thing that remains is an absolute silence in you and around you, if there is nothing more to hope for. And that was this idea of some kind of pure pessimism, exploring that this is not what we personally as person think. We all think differently in that band around the idea of pessimism, but that was the topic that we wanted to explore. And all the lyrics are about some different type of pessimism through the years of a person. It's some kind of a biography, actually, if you read all the lyrics.
That is exactly what I
beginning.
What I thought.
It might be some kind of the life of a pure pessimist.
Yeah, that is something that I also thought. Is it a pure pessimist, or is it just a realistic person looking at our status quo with a lot of sarcasm?
I think every pessimist in the world would say they're realistic. But everyone is entitled to think that or not. When I feel myself very pessimistic about the future, about how us as humans, where we are going, and people around me, you're so dark in your thoughts. I want to say, but I'm dark, but I'm realistic. And I think those two ideas are really combined, living together.
For you personally, Ron, would you say that we as mankind are regressing or progressing?
Well, we surely are progressing in some ways. This is I have no doubts about it. I think there is plenty of statistics that would show that socially also we are progressing. Sometimes, in the other hand, I'm personally super afraid somehow of that we are going straight to a wall. And I don't know what will be the nature of this wall, but I have doubts that we can continue in some of the direction that Western society at least are aiming now, without hitting that wall sooner than later. This is my personal opinion.
Then the question must be, is silence in a very strange way a post-apocalyptic record, a record on the other side of that wall that you've just mentioned?
No, I would say it's a record that takes place when you realize that the wall is inevitable.
Okay.
And so there's nothing more to do or to say or to think.
And there is nothing more to prevent hitting the wall. Yeah.
So you just stop.
So it's basically the person in the driver's seat who doesn't have a steering wheel, who doesn't have any gas pedal or brake or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I can get that image here.
it once again shows that Rorcal is not a band that aims for chart positions. That is definitely clear. But one has to admit, I mean, like, for transparency's sake, we are recording this interview on October 12th. You know, when one thinks about the now already nearly 20 months of war in the Ukraine, when one thinks about the onslaught that is happening between Israel and Palestine, about the fact that China is closing in on Taiwan all the time, and we haven't even started about Serbia, about Venezuela, about a lot of countries which are either in limbo or close to it. One can see where you're going with the idea. On the other hand, isn't it interesting that a lot of people, including me, observe the record to have that little bit of light, and at the same time, it's once again one of those records that lyrically, thematically, are really dark? Is that something that you, I'm very sure that's not something that you seek out, but is that something that you also like in records? You know, some kind of dichotomy?
Yeah, completely. And I think maybe it's not top charts seeking record, but I'm convinced that what drives us is a research of beauty somehow. And we are more aiming for creating music that we find nice, beautiful, with a beauty, than something purely extreme. And so I think naturally, yeah, we had some parts that are clearer than other, more melodic also than other. And to stick to the topic of this album in particularly, there is some type of clairvoyance. I don't know if this word exists in English.
You mean clarity?
Clarity. Thank you. There is a clarity in understand that there is no hope. I mean, when you accept that, you can feel a type of clarity, and if this clarity echoes in the music, I mean, it's on topic.
Would you also say that once you accept that inevitability, that it is some kind of, that it provides some kind of freedom for, you know, you don't have to worry anymore?
Somehow, yeah.
So let's envision, we know that the world will end in 10 days. How would you, and we cannot do anything about it. It will happen. We fucked it up to the extreme. There's no way of avoiding it. And there is also no way of flying into space or such shit. You know, like 10 days, we're all gonna die. How would you spend those 10 days?
I would eat so much. I think it won't be any different than most of people. I think I would try to spend time with the person I love. I think I would seek immediate pleasures like eating and all other 18 rated things.
Come on, let's just say it's sex. Come on.
Yeah, sure.
Grown-ups.
Yeah, I don't see it otherwise. And I think there will be a part of anxiety also. And maybe some silence also.
Yes, I also see that. So you would consider yourself not one of those people who say like, oh, I still have this bucket list to do. Let's see what I can do. You would say like, okay, one day at a time.
Yeah, I think.
Do you think your bandmates would be the same way?
Some would drink much more than others. That's for sure. I don't know. I don't want to speak for them. For this is a so personal topic. No, actually, I think no one can know, even for themselves, what they would do in this kind of moments.
Yeah.
I only imagine what I would do, but frankly, I'm not sure.
Yeah, everything we say at this moment would be a guess, right? That's true. So you've just mentioned eating. Okay, being a former chef, I have to nail you down on this. What kind of food or what kind of cuisine would land on your final table?
Yeah, well, I will disappoint you, but I think I stick a little bit to my teenage cuisine tastes. No, I don't know, something beefy.
Totally fine. Totally fine. I think for me it would also be something very normal, not too fancy, but rather well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, you know, you've just mentioned what kind of food. And I know that that can be a topic among bands, you know, because sometimes you have people who are vegans and who share stages with, you know, meat lovers. Without asking whether there is the same problem in your band, but you know, when listening to Rorcal and when listening to the progression of your records, there is something, I don't know how to say it, but with every record that you put out, I have a feeling as if the unit, Rorcal, the group of people, has become closer and closer and much more aware of what the other is gonna add in the next moment. Is that something that you feel too, that you've grown closer as a band over the years?
Yes and no. Yes, because you're right to say that we have a better understanding of each other in the musical way. And I think now we can very quickly, when we're writing music, say it's good or it's not. And normally we all agree that this is something we want to keep and this is something we will throw away. No, because actually the lineup changed
I know.
years. And from the HLGBLS era, we're only 3 out of 5 remaining. And so we also had to, you know, learn to work with other people. Lately, we changed the bass player. We have a new one for just after the release of Muladona. And so yeah, it was a new addition, and we have to, you know, learn to work together. And actually, it's not always easy. Also, learn to live together closely. This will be our first tour, Europe tour, starting next week with him. So this part of being in a band, I don't know it with him. I have no anxiety about it. But yeah, this will be new. But with the years, I can say that the 4 of us that are doing music for more than 10 years now, yeah, we really learn to live together and anticipate many human and artistic things. And yeah, so this is something that that grows in us within the years.
Do you also think that is important for a band like yours? In general?
It would be impossible otherwise, I think, because if we are not all together in this thing, there's no more meaning, because there is no much to wait for it. There is it's it's a passion. We never make one €1 for us playing in Rorcal. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of waiting. The timelines are super long. You start to writing some music, in the best case scenario, it's only 3 or 4 years after that it will be released, 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I think it's mandatory that we all share this core idea of making music together, or otherwise it will just fall apart. And that's why COVID, for an example, was super hard for us, because it was really just us, totally separated as everybody from the rest of the world. And yeah, what to do with that? It was a challenge as a band. And yeah, that Witch Coven came out of that, actually.
Oh, so Witch Coven is basically a COVID record.
Totally. It's okay, we have a little bit more time. There is nothing much more to do. Let's make something super extreme. And invite our old friend. I think Earth Fresh.
Yeah, Bruno was a part of Rorcal before.
He was a former bassist. So let's invite him again and play again some music with him, write again some music with him. Yeah, it was a total COVID record.
Well, you definitely kicked COVID's ass with that one. One thing that struck when I looked at the image, when I read the titles to the tracks, and when I figured out what it was, I was always reminded of a quote from a song by Einstürzende Neubauten, because they have a song that is called "Silence is Sexy."
All right.
And it ends with the words, "Silence is sexy." No, silence is not sexy at all. And Blixa explained it once in a very nice way. He said, like, okay, when do we ever hear real silence? Like, we don't hear anything. And he pointed out that there is always some kind of sound, and the minimum sound that we always hear is our breath. And he said, well, silence is only there when you're dead, so it can't be sexy. You would define silence a little differently, right? You would say that silence is, a lack of communication, or a hole within a communication.
It's more like a psychological silence. It's it's more like every mental speech that you have with yourself stops. It's that kind of silence that I think we were working on.
But then the question is, could there be silence within a dialogue between two people or more?
Sorry,
you've spoken about the inner silence, where you don't think because of something inevitable. But do you think that there can be silence in a special way, while at the same time 2 people or more are talking to each other?
Maybe. Do you have an example in mind, or?
Actually, I do, and actually, it's connected to the war in Palestine, basically, right now, or to the war in the Ukraine, or whichever war you're thinking about. I still think that a war is a lack of communication. And at the same time, we must be aware that during two parties who are at war with each other, there is always communication. It's just the way that the communication just doesn't work. So my question is, can there be a kind of mental silence, a mental state of not understanding, although two parties are communicating?
Yeah. I think even not in war conditions, a lot of what we say to each other is just us saying what we're thinking, but not really listening and try to incorporate what we heard from the other part. And so it's just two one-way communication, and it's somehow the speech of the other part is silent in us. Inside us is only what we are thinking, because it's not a real exchange. It's just a two-part monologue.
Then that means that very often what we think is dialogue is nothing more than blabber that the other one is not picking up. Yeah,
I think one good example is political debate, especially in France, sometimes everybody are shouting their way to see things, but nobody is listening to the other. And they cut each other's speech to speak louder, and it's just people in the same room talking their opinions, but nobody is really here to listen to the opinions of the others and try to incorporate them in their way of thinking.
So then one final question about the record before we go to the infamous quickfire round. You've said that, that you as a band have an opinion on what is silence. But as we've seen, one could also interpret the record, the titles, the music, as if it's talking about that woman that we see on the cover. And when we then read the titles and the lyrics, it might turn into a story about something differently. It might turn about a story of her being neglected, being raped, being abused, whatever. How would you deal if somebody saw that in your record?
Well, he didn't saw what we wanted to express.
But is his interpretation for you as valid as your intention?
I mean, he's entitled to think everything he wants, but this is not what we wanted to express with that album. And this is just the objective reality. We chose this picture because the name was Silence, and because we were really interested by the position of this figure that happened to be a woman, because she was really crawling on herself in this position, or there was nothing more around, and maybe visibly nothing more inside her as well. This is something that we were really interested in. It's more picture of what psychological silence can be. But if someone has another interpretation, it's just his opinion. It's not ours, and it's definitely not what we wanted to express.
It's very interesting because, very often we talk or we hear artists saying, okay, like everybody can listen to our record and see our record the way he or she wants, and whichever interpretation is fine. I'm very happy to have once in a while a band or hear an artist who says, like, you can think whatever you want to think, but this is what we think. This is what it is to us. That's very, very nice, you know, because I very often we hear people like, okay, it's free for interpretation, and it's nice to hear someone who says, like, it's free for interpretation, but your interpretation could basically be totally wrong. It's very nice.
I think it's something that defined our music for the beginning is that we always take a guideline and we record music around a guideline, a topic. I think the Moulin I was really clear about it, that we took a book and we rewrite in music this book.
Yeah,
and we always try to do something like that, really a guideline that, and the music will follow. So if your interpretation of our album is not our guideline, well, it's just not what we were thinking when we were writing it. It doesn't mean that it's worse than ours, but it's just not ours.
Yeah, that's very good way to say that. So, Bron, first of all, thanks for all the insight into the record, into its meaning. But of course, you cannot go without answering the quickfire questions. And as I said, I looked the other ones up so I don't repeat myself. And let's start off with something easy. Grindcore versus classic hardcore. Which one would you choose?
Sorry.
Grindcore versus classic hardcore.
Grindcore.
If you had to choose between two very modern hardcore acts, would you choose Converge or End?
Converge.
And as you chose grindcore, of course, I'll give you two grindcore classics: Pick Destroyer versus Agoraphobic Nosebleed.
Big Destroyer.
Now for the Swiss in you. Celtic Frost versus Hellhammer.
Celtic Frost.
When you listen to music, do you rather, for accessibility's sake, use a streaming service, or do you still listen to music the analog way?
I'm a big streamer.
Which is not a bad thing.
No, I know, but yeah, I'm a streamer. Yeah.
If you choose to play a record the old-fashioned way, do you rather choose vinyl or a CD?
Vinyl.
Okay. Can you say why?
Well, if one day I choose to go old school, let's go.
Okay.
Old school all the way.
Okay. I'm not 100% sure where you live. I think it's in the Francophonian part of Switzerland. Yeah. So for your next city trip, Zurich or Bern?
Zurich.
Why?
There is nothing to do in Bern.
Isn't that the capital of your country?
Yeah, okay. Actually, Zurich is 2 or 3 times bigger than Bern.
It is, I know. And I know that Zurich definitely offers a lot more entertaining things than Bern. Which Pink Floyd record do you prefer? The Wall or The Dark Side of the Moon?
No. I don't know. I suck at Pink Floyd.
Is there any any prog rock band that you would prefer to Pink Floyd?
From this era?
General. Anything proggy. As long as you don't say Dream Theater. Come on, please don't.
Ever.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge fan of Catatonia.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that fit to Rorcal much more. We've already spoken about city trips, and you chose Zurich.
Yeah.
Vacation in general. Are you more the seaside vacation guy or the mountain vacation guy?
Mountain.
Ooh, okay.
Or forest.
Okay. And last question, because a very, very famous extreme metal band released a surprise album 5 months ago. Canate.
Yeah.
And as Canate is featuring a member of Sun, I'll give you Canate and another another side project of Sun. So Canate on the one hand versus Goat Snake on the other. Which one would you?
Canate.
Okay. Is that a band that ranks high on your list?
Yeah, actually, I haven't listened to the new record, and I haven't listened to it for a while. But they released this record years ago. It's Erase, or it's 2 words. I don't know if you remember.
You go on. I'll look up. It's not. I'm very sure it's not Erase, but you go on.
And this was, at that time, this was a super big influence on our music with Rorcal.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the occasion of touring 2 or 3 gigs with a side project of the singer. It was No, I think. And yeah, so he listened a little bit to our song, and we had to talk with him. And yeah, so definitely Canate has something to do with Rorcal.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so to answer your question.
So you either mean Capture and Release or Things Viral?
Yeah, that one.
Capture and Release.
No, Capture and Release. Mm-hmm.
So will you attend Roadburn next year when they will play?
I really do hope that we will be able to go to Roadburn next year.
Me too. So, Ron, thanks for all the insight. Thanks for the cool answers. When this one is recorded, I'll see you in 2 days. Folks, when this one is out, I hope you went to one of the Rorcal shows. And Ron, thanks for all your time. Enjoy the rest of your day, and see you in a little bit more than 48 hours, my friend.
Yeah.
So
thank you very much, and see you there.
Yeah, see you there. Bye-bye.